I'm Laurie Wehring, and you're listening to Art Talks, the podcast bringing you news about the local arts industry during this COVID-19 pandemic. Each week, we'll feature Jason Irle, Executive Director of the Mid-Texas Symphony, Cheryl Fisher, Executive Director at the Braunfels Theater, and we'll feature special guests representing local arts organizations to share how they're being affected and some messages of positivity. This week, we're welcoming Roberta, Elliott, and Robin Williams with Circle Arts Theater in New Braunfels. Welcome, everyone. So, Cheryl, a couple of episodes ago, you mentioned that you had a big announcement about the Braunfels Theater. Is there anything you can share with us today?
Well, Laurie, I can't reveal the actual artist yet, but what I can tell you is the Braunfels Theater will be announcing in May our new season, which will begin September 4th, and we will go on sale to the public June 1st. We'll be working with our season ticket holders during the month of May, and I can't announce the lineup just yet, but I can say we will be featuring some returning favorites and adding some new exciting artists as well. We will also be presenting a theatrical performance and collaborating with area performing arts groups. So we're excited. We're ready to do this.
I'm excited too, for sure. Can't wait for September. So, as I mentioned earlier today, we're talking to Roberta and Robin from Circle Arts Theater. Roberta or Robin, can you talk a little bit about Circle Arts and its impact in the community?
Sure thing. Well, Circle Arts covers all ages. I think there's an inherent need in all human beings to create. And so having the ability to come down and perform in a show or to build sets, because that's creative, and design lights and run things backstage, that addresses everything for the people to create. And of course, then they know people enjoy them when the audience comes and lets them know. So that's always nice. But then we also have a touring youth company that goes to as many schools as we can fit in, because these are teenagers that are coming, that perform. And thanks to New Braunfels Women's Go, we have been able to do these performances for free this year and got in more schools than we have in the past. So that was very exciting. And then we also have a drama school, and we teach ages 2nd through 9th, and little ones come in and we help them learn how to express themselves and be more confident. So we try to get everybody in that we can.
I love that it's all ages. And I know my kids have been the recipients of some of those performances. So they've really, really enjoyed that a lot. And thanks to NB Women's Go, that's a great organization. Can you talk a little bit about how the coronavirus has impacted Circle Arts? And are there some good things you can share coming out of this?
I think I'll let Robin talk more about that, because she has been having to deal with the public as she takes care of our reservations. And so she's been on the front line working hard to make sure everybody is getting, what they need.
Yes. We had 3 different shows that we were in the middle of when the pandemic really hit Texas and New Braunfels specifically. And so we had to cancel our youth program. We were on hold for quite a bit, just not knowing, because like everybody else, you just didn't know for the longest time. So those kids had just gotten their scripts and just gotten their parts, and we hadn't really started, but that was for our 2nd through 9th graders. And so we ended up having to cancel those classes and cancel that performance. But then our other 2 shows we've had to postpone. So we had our teenagers, our youth company, the Inner Circle, and they were supposed to perform in March. They are now performing in July. And then last weekend and this weekend was supposed to be our production of Love, Loss, and What I Wore that is now moved to June, unless we hear otherwise, and we'll go from there. But what has been neat is that I've had to call all of these patrons who already had reservations and tickets for those productions, and the overwhelming amount of support that they had just took my breath away. At the end of the day, each day, I was just that little bit teary-eyed to think that all of these people were asking how I was doing, how Roberta was doing, because it was as if we really were a family and they genuinely cared about how we were doing, how the theater was going to survive through all of this. And they of course understood that we had to postpone, and so many people have donated their tickets back. They said, please keep the money or the credits from their season passes. And if we are able to do those shows, we will buy more tickets because we just want to support you. But it really has been an overwhelming amount of support for us.
Robin, thank you for that. That, when you mention the word family, that is exactly what I think about when I think of Circle Arts. I love Circle Arts. I'm a huge fan. I've attended some plays there. It's amazing. I think that I'm most curious about the artistic process. At the Symphony, we have an artistic process. The Brauntex has an artistic process, but I've always wanted to know more about the artistic process at Circle Arts. From when a play is selected to the final bows, what is it like there at Circle Arts, for the director, actors, everyone involved?
Well, selecting the plays, of course, is always a board decision. With, of course, Robin's and my input as to what is feasible to do, and hopefully picking things that our audience is going to want to see. Once that's done, Robin and I get to fight over who gets to direct what. Creative process, that's a big question. Obviously, auditions, and auditions are always open. We have, I think, pre-cast a part maybe 3 times in our 50 years, because we just don't like to do that. When we do, we always announce it. But auditions are open to everyone, and we try our best to rotate people so the same people aren't always getting a lead, and try to get as many new people in to experience what it's like.
Hey, Roberta, can you talk a little bit more about that experience? You have someone that came to the city or has been there a while, and they see this call for auditions and they're thinking, I want to try that. How's that impact to that person that's wanting to be a part of this? And what do you think that they get out of it?
Well, even if they aren't cast, I think they get a feeling of welcome. I know we have had a lot of feedback from people saying they had a good time trying out, even though they were not cast. And a lot of them have even said, hey, I want to volunteer for house crew, or if you need help with props or costumes. And so they immediately, I think, get that feeling of welcome and, hey, this is a fun place to be. But for those who are cast, yes, it's a whole new experience. And I think we try to make it as positive an experience as possible. And we definitely teach our newbie actors along the way and try to explain and help them to grow.
I've always been intrigued by that, and the last play that I attended there, and I'm I'm eager to get back as soon as possible. But I attended Inherit the Wind, which Roberta, I think you directed, and I was blown away by it. Can you give us some insight about how that production went? What was the inspiration? What was different from the film? I'm a big fan of the film with Spencer Tracy and Gene Kelly. Mm-hmm. Patrick was in that play, and it was amazing. Can you just give me a little bit of the experience of that? I'm curious to know.
Well, it's always been a favorite of mine. I have always wanted to do it, and I just finally said, okay, now it's time. I think I am, as a director, old enough to do it. And of course, I had these 2 wonderful actors that I was hoping were going to try out and do it, Patrick Rickey and Tom Henderson. And so, it was an amazing experience all around. And I think for everybody in the show, as well as those who came to see it.
What was so neat about the show was that it's still relevant today. The same conversations about religion and school and everything are still just as relevant today as they were when it was written. And so it ended up being just this timeless piece, even though, yes, it is set, very much in the past. And yes, some of these opinions are outdated, but at the same time, they're not. It's the same struggles that we're still having. And so that it became a very relevant play given our time period.
Laurie, I just wanted to add that the Circle Arts Theater and the Braunfels Theater have a history of being a family together. Some people might think that we're live performing arts theaters, so we might be in competition. That has never been the case, nor will it ever be the case. We have a history of supporting one another, and we will have a future of supporting one another. And I just wanted to make sure that was made clear.
I want to thank Roberta and Robin. Y'all have provided so much insight to Circle Arts, and it's always a pleasure. And thank you again for everything. And we look forward to working with you as well. And I'm excited about what you have coming up as well. So thanks again.
Roberta and Robin, what can our listeners do right now to help Circle Arts out?
You can always donate money. We love that. But actually, I've had several people who have asked what our mailing address was because they do want to donate. And of course, we still have stuff online all the time for people to donate. But even just being on Facebook and liking our posts and checking out some of the things that we are talking about and sharing, because we're trying to do a little bit of a stroll through memory lane during this downtime. And so even that is great. But reaching out to us and letting us know that you are there and can't wait to come back to the theater, that keeps us going.
I love that memory lane idea. That's such a great idea. And thanks to all of you for joining me today. And thanks, listeners, for joining us for Art Talks. We'll be posting new episodes weekly on Thursdays featuring local arts organizations. If you have any questions, you can email us at arttalks@mtsymphony.org. Thanks again for listening, and we'll be back next week.